Things that females struggle with, trying to get a job, married, post-marriage, being a mother, there's a lot there that we struggle with, sort of just silent. Do not want to air our dirty laundry, which is very typical, but actually suffocating to society. It stops us progressing, it stops us moving forward together.
Because I feel like I have to play a certain role in society and the pressures that are upon me. You know, I have fears about, am I ever going to settle down? Am I going to find the perfect partner? Worry about fertility. Am I going to be able to have children? You know, this is it for me. This is going to be my happy ending. The outcome wasn't that. But inside, you're absolutely broken.
Yeah.
But you just have to separate the two.
Yeah. So actually, you made a mistake. Actually, is there something, would you like to apologise? You know?
Absolutely. On how you juggle.
I just told you how I'm
work-life
epically failing.
balance.
So proud of myself.
Oh my God. I remember being on that journey with you. We wanted to change conversations.
He'd take my mobile phone and he would start deleting. I couldn't even imagine. Can you even imagine saying those words to someone?
Heartbreaking.
Insane.
It is insane.
It's
I don't
insane.
even know how you do that.
I think my absolute number one biggest failure has probably been as... Hello, I'm Dr. Vanita Rattan.
And I'm Anisha Vasani.
Welcome to our Taboo Table Talks, where we're uncovering controversial topics in a modern world.
And it's time to question the status quo. So, Vanita, we have launched our official Taboo Table
I
Talks
know.
podcast. How exciting!
How exciting, finally, right?
Right. Now, what inspired you, one, to launch this amazing podcast with myself, and tell us a little bit about your career journey for all of those that don't know who you are? I mean, there's no one that doesn't know who you are, but tell us about your career journey as well.
So do you know what happened during COVID? I think a lot of people started taking interest in their skincare. And so at the time I had a chain of clinics and we had to shut our clinics during COVID because of the lockdowns. We weren't sure what was happening. And at the same time, I decided I was going to start educating online. And I didn't realize how quickly we would grow. So we grew to about 2.5 million followers across YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok in less than 2 years. And at the same time, as I was educating on skincare, I realized that a lot of the products that we needed for skin of color just didn't exist. Because if you look for representation when it comes to cosmetic formulators, the vast majority of them are Caucasian. And so you need representation where decision making is happening. And so I decided I was going to do that. I had my own laboratory, I had my own factory. So I decided I was going to make products specifically for skin of color based on what my followers wanted. And touch with that just really took off, and I just couldn't be more grateful. And from there, we're now in a situation where you've got this wonderful following and you think, how else can I add value? And for me, because I'm a big reader, I love to read. I read a book every week and I implement changes from those books for myself and for my family. And then I thought, how else can I learn and learn on a bigger scale? And this way, by doing a podcast, by getting experts on here, getting people with their experiences on here, we get to learn, but also we get to share the knowledge with everybody else as well. So it just felt synergistic for me. My turn to ask you a question, Anisha. Tell me about your history and why you decided to do this podcast.
So I, as you guys all probably know, and if you don't, I was the former editor of Asiana magazine, our biggest title for 10 years. So I've been in the media industry now for like 17 years. And it was an amazing, amazing journey. I learned so much, interviewed so many celebrities, created the most beautiful fashion and beauty and, jewelry campaigns around the world, traveled around the world and, writing about so many things, wedding related, but also lifestyle.
Yeah.
Asiana used to be a lifestyle magazine where we used to cover so many topics like this, like controversial debates, things that people were doing, and they were excited to launch, their
I didn't know that.
singles.
I thought it was always a wedding magazine.
Yeah, no, there was Asiana, which was a lifestyle magazine, and then it was quarterly, and then there was Asiana Wedding.
So then what happened?
So basically, I think obviously the social media whole kind of, evolving happened and the revolution. So that digital came along and there was Facebook and Instagram all of a sudden taking over our industry, that we had to do the transition at that point and become more digitalized. So Asiana did, obviously, eventually, they did become more of a digital platform, but it was hard because obviously for all those people that love magazines, you want to have the actual print and you want to go through it and you want to flick through the images. And I remember, so many people cutting out at the time their, cutouts and taking it to the makeup artists and the fashion designers saying we want it. People would not get married without it.
Yeah.
And when they wanted to know anything about, lifestyle issues, whether it be cooking or hobbies or dancing, they pick up the magazine.
Okay.
So it was there literally as a Bible for everything you needed in your life.
Okay.
So it was great. And it was so amazing to be part of this journey, because when I was young, I thought I didn't know whether I wanted to be a broadcast journalist or whether I wanted to be actually a fashion journalist.
Right.
But it was only when I did lots of work experience and conducted through working with the Daily Mirror and like Hello Magazine and Closer Magazine that I realised I really wanted to go down the fashion route.
Okay.
So, you know, and that's in my blood. I love it. But it was also like, you know, kind of implementing and coordinating the events.
Yeah.
I got to direct a lot of the events and the catwalks as well. So I basically left in 2017 to take that kind of leap of faith and launch my own creative consultancy called Anisha Vasani Creates, which has been amazing. It was really daunting at first because I thought, you know, when you've been attached to a brand for so many years, it's like, how do you actually let it go now and obviously now develop your own brand with your own identity? But I did it with you know, advice from so many of my fellow colleagues in the industries to say, you know what, you've got to do this on your own. And it's been amazing. I've been able to work with amazing people like yourselves, so many of the celebrities, so many of my fashion jewelry, wedding brands, and I'm still able to like create a lot of their campaigns. But one element that I really, really missed was actually being able to interview a lot of the celebrities, a lot of the influencers, authors, cooks, you know, chefs, dancers, when they're launching a product or they've got like a release of things. We would obviously list it on Asia on a website and also in the magazine, the lifestyle magazine. And I felt like what I was missing at this point was a platform. A platform where we can actually now bring on these amazing career people, entrepreneurs, to talk, to discuss things that they've been through. So like a magazine, but just now in a podcast style, which is so popular. Everyone listens to podcasts. Like I listen to like 1 or 2 podcasts every week. And I feel, especially after the pandemic, it really empowers, it really inspires, it motivates you in so many ways. And I thought, right, it's all about the right timing. I thought, what can we do where we can bring, like you said, experts, we can teach, we can educate at the same time and bring on people that are going to add value and purpose 100%. To lots of different audiences that are able to talk about topics in a free space, controversial topics without judgment.
I'm nervous, honestly. I think some of the guests that we've got coming on and some of the experiences that they've had, I think it's going to strike a nerve with a lot of people. But I think the one thing that that's going to keep this podcast slightly different to other podcasts is that we're going to be bringing experts on here to discuss. So whether it's doctors, whether it's lawyers, we're going to have the actual person's perspective, their experience, their difficulties and struggles, but also we're going to bring the expert on too, which will give us all great takeaway points that we can all implement into our own lives. And I think that's where the learning comes from.
100%.
And often with podcasts, don't you think, I mean, there's some fantastic ones. I love Diary of a CEO. I love Sam Harris. I love educational type podcasts where it's not just someone's perspective, it's a lot more than that. And I think that's what we are trying to achieve with this, isn't
100%.
it?
100%. I mean, I love Jay Shetty's one as well. And a phenomenal journey he's been and how much he's evolved. And he's even going now onto other platforms, on mainstream platforms. And you see the journey and you can see it's really, really changing lives. And that's what we wanted for this podcast. We wanted to change conversations. We feel like when we're meeting with friends or just people just outside of our working lives, we're having these conversations behind closed doors and we're not able to talk openly and freely about these taboo, controversial topics that are affecting us every day in our modern society. And we want to discuss a variety of different topics that we could both relate to, but also we know what our friends and family and other colleagues and entrepreneurs are going through. So let's share with all of our followers and our audiences, what topics are we going to be discussing on Taboo Table Talks?
So generally, I tend to gravitate towards things that I'm going through. So for me, things that females struggle with that we don't discuss, whether it's from growing up to trying to get a job, to marriage, to post-marriage, to being a mother. There's a lot there that we struggle with and we sort of do it silently. So I want to unpack that. I also want to discuss parenting. So especially in this digital age where parents don't necessarily know what their children are doing online, which can be very dangerous, whether it's child grooming, whether it's addiction to the mobile phone, whether it's almost losing your children to peer attachment. Whereas previously, primary attachment has always been to the parent. It causes a lot of tension in a family, especially in the teen years, and they almost don't take on the values of the parents. So there's a lot there I want to discuss as well. But actually, I think just as a wider society, for us to not want to air our dirty laundry, which is very typical, but actually suffocating to society. It stops us progressing. It stops us moving forward together. And I think just opening up conversation, because we're all struggling, all of us, even those people who appear to have perfect lives on social media, don't. We are all struggling. And if I talk about things that I'm struggling with and you talk about things that you're struggling with, we suddenly realize that we're not so different and we can help each other. And imagine if we did that on a massive scale, how that would impact society, which is what I think we're trying to do here.
That's our purpose.
Yeah, that's our purpose.
And it's true, because even for myself, Vanita, a lot of people see us on social media. Yeah. They see the glamorous lives we lead, and they don't see all the hard work and the battles we are all facing behind the scenes. They just see like this other facade, almost like you almost have to have a poker face sometimes when you're going out and you're a public figure, and the pressures that you need to let your audience you're okay, but you're not. And there's so many struggles and challenges that you're all like kind of facing and fighting behind the scenes. And I think it was really important for myself, because I feel like I have to play a certain role in society and the pressures that are upon me. And I wanted to actually be able to share topics that single women like myself that can relate to, and men, because I'm in my late 30s, I'm not married, nor do I have children. And there's things that do make me nervous, and I have fears about, am I ever going to settle down? Am I going to find the perfect partner? We'll worry about fertility. Am I going to be able to have, children? There's so many of my friends that are struggling with fertility. And I think mental health, both for men and women, is huge. Yeah. And I know so many people that are struggling and are battling it behind the scenes, but they don't talk about it because they're in, the front of the camera, they're in the media. And we wanted to create a space. I feel like if we can save lives, we can educate, we can, learn from one another, and you can relate to the topics that we're going to bring, and from the experts and the guests that we're going to be on here, we're definitely then going to hopefully be able to make a change.
Absolutely. Would you say there's a time for you where you found out something bad or something that's really affected you, but you've had to immediately change your face and almost be like you say, like a second person, almost like have that second persona? Do you want to talk about a time where that's happened, where you just thought, wow, okay, I'm just going to have to park that and deal with that later? Because I think all of us have gone through something similar, but you're so front facing and so live. The rest of us, we get to write our, I write my YouTube scripts out or something. And if I'm struggling with something, I won't necessarily film that day. I'll just say, you know what, I just need a couple of days. Have you ever been through anything that you just thought, oh, okay, I'm like professional first and I'll deal with that later?
Yeah, always, all the time. Because work comes first. Yeah. And I have got a duty and a role and responsibility to my clients. Yeah. So I could give you one scenario when I went through a really horrible breakup after 5.5 years, and I had so many back-to-back events, and being in the wedding industry as well.
Oh my goodness.
I was devastated. When you just feel like, okay, I'm going to, this is it for me. This is going to be my happy ending. And suddenly it doesn't, for whatever reason, the outcome wasn't that. You have to literally switch on this positive demeanor, this positive aura, and you just need to park it, exactly what you said, and you need to literally go and represent yourself and just show everybody that you're okay, when inside I'm absolutely broken and in pieces.
Oh my
but
goodness.
No one will ever know, because that's what we are. We're professionals, so we never try and let our personal lives overtake our professional lives. But that in itself really affects you mentally and emotionally. Yes, on one hand, it's a great coping mechanism where you're literally kind of just diving into your work, and it's a great distraction. Okay. But really, you've just had a car crash. Yeah. But you're having to be okay. And I've only known that life. I've only known that you come in and you've got to literally represent yourself and the brand, and this is how people read you. There's this pressure and this perception of, you've got to show the world that you're okay. Wow. From the way that you look to the way that you're dressed and the way that you're styled. because it's your brand, it's your body image, it's your branding, right? It's your identity. So you can't then go to an event and show that you're broken, even though you are.
Especially a wedding. The weddings are the war. I mean, like, come on.
Imagine you're planning.
I know.
You're heartbroken. You're thinking, that should have been me.
Yeah.
I should be the one getting married. And then suddenly you're just basically showcasing this beautiful wedding, which is great. You're so beaming with so much happiness for your couple. But inside, you're absolutely broken. But you just have to separate the two.
Yeah.
And even that, I know so many people will be able to identify. There's so much pressure, Vanita. So much pressure going out there and just showing everyone that you're okay all the time. Because it's almost like you're not allowed to show. And a lot of people are now. More and more influencers, celebrities, professionals are talking about their struggles, their challenges. And you can now identify with like genuine issues and problems that they're going through, and their audiences are relating to it now. And I think I've seen the huge transition of that, and I think it's really, really helping.
I totally
Have you
agree.
found the same?
Absolutely.
Being a doctor, you listen to your audience, you write to them, you want to hear from them and what they're talking about. Do you then openly go and talk about some of the issues that you've been through in your career as well? Obviously you've had your highs, you've had your lows as well.
So I talk about my failures in work. So I will absolutely say, for example, the other day we failed our eye cream test for the 4th time. I'm going for the 5th time because we're trying to create basically an eye cream which has never been made before, higher strength actives at a pH of 6, which is extremely difficult to do. And that's probably the reason it hasn't been done before, but I'm so vocal about my failures in my work because I want everyone to know that life is not easy and life is just full of failures, and eventually if you're lucky you'll succeed, and that's just normal. So I really normalize failure in work, but when it comes to my personal life I don't really advertise failures that I've had as a parent, for example. I more teach about things that I've read and things that I've learned and how I'm implementing that. But I sort of want to change that a little bit with this podcast because I do want it to be okay to talk about things that we've struggled with and things that we've failed at. So I remember when I first talked about my dyslexia on my channel, I was terrified. I remember, so I wrote a book for HarperCollins called Skin Revolution. It's one of the highlights of my life and one of the greatest things I've ever done. But if you've bought it, it's a fat book and I had to read the entire book as an audiobook for Audible. And writing a book is one thing. Reading the book is very different. And I had sat there and read cover to cover my entire book. I didn't even know how many hours it would take for me to do that. And I was so nervous going into the room, and it's just like this. There's an audio room, and I'm on my own for days, reading sentence by sentence, making sure everything is perfect. And I just remember getting to the end of the book and thinking, I never thought I was going to get to the end and actually have read my entire book. I was so proud of myself.
Well done. I remember being on that journey with you at the time, and you were just cocooned in your own little world. We hadn't heard from her in a while because she was so focused in writing this book, and what a huge achievement. And it was amazing to be part of your book launch, and just honestly, if you guys have not read it, please do. But it's amazing. You've achieved so much. But I think you're right. I love that you've been so transparent about talking about failures and work. But again, you just feel like you can't sometimes talk about, your failures sometimes in your personal life. And that's exactly what we want you to do, is create so much awareness of controversial topics that we can talk about openly without any judgment.
Making it normal.
So as you said, you haven't highlighted enough about your personal failures. What would be your one personal failure that now you can share on this podcast?
How did I know? I set myself up for that one, I'm sure. I think my absolute number one biggest failure has probably been as trying to be the mum that I want to be. I think only now I'm giving myself time to have the relationship that I want with my children, and I'm making that my priority. But up until the point where I felt financially secure, my entire world was, we have to have food on the table first. I have to make sure we can afford everything, pay for everything before I can even lay eyes on my children, So I think my daughter's 10 now and my son's 6, but I would probably say for the first 6 years or 7 years of Sienna's life, she was pretty independent. She was probably one of the most independent children, which sounds like a positive thing, but maybe wasn't so positive because, you know, she was able to make her own breakfast from 3 years old, and she was able to just, you know, pull her homework out and do her homework by herself and then put it away. And like, she was just so independent. And then when Josh came along, she was looking after him. And I think all of that happened because I wasn't around as much as I wanted to be. And I think it's a tough one. I think growing up, you almost feel like you've been programmed or taught that you can have everything and you can be everything if you just work hard enough. But that's just not the case. You have 24 hours in the day, and women, however you want to cut it, if we have to do more in those 24 hours, if you have kids and you want to work, you know, each hour is almost more valuable because you're trying to do 2 jobs simultaneously, and you're not going to do one of those jobs very well. So that's just numbers. It's just facts. I wish it was some other way, but I think that's something that I'm rectifying now. And I've even apologized to my kids, and I've said, I'm really sorry that I wasn't around as much as I wanted to be. And moving forward, these are changes that I want to make, and I want to have a great relationship with you first and foremost, because if anything goes wrong, especially in this very dangerous digital time, if anything goes wrong, I want you to come to Mummy first, and I promise I won't judge you. I just want to help you through every struggle, because there are going to be many that I can foresee happening, and others that I can't foresee happening. And I want you to make great decisions. And I'm team Sienna and I'm team Josh. I'm not a separate team to you. I'm like on your team, and I'm not going to judge you, and I've got your back, whatever it is, even if you made a mistake, even if it's a terrible mistake. So I feel like now they're coming to a slightly older age, they're understanding that more and more, and they're seeing other kids making drastic mistakes that can completely alter the trajectory of their lives, and they're a bit more scared. And I want them just to know that I'm there. I'm not off working. Mummy's here. So I've now basically changed my dynamic. So in the last year and a half, we've launched 35 products.
Oh,
that's insane.
It is insane.
It's insane.
I don't even know how you do that.
It really was probably at the cost of spending time with my kids, because most companies will launch 2 products a year. If you're lucky, to launch 35 products was basically 10 years of work that I did in a year and a half. But now I'm at a point that I just think, anything else I launch at this point, I'm going to give myself 6 months to launch it. I'm going to give myself so much time that I then give that time back to my kids. So I think that's where I've not gone wrong, because I couldn't have done it any other way. And I knew at the time what was happening. But if there was some magic wand and magic way of, everything being great and me living my perfect life for the last decade, it would have been a lot more time at home and not having to think about finances.
Yeah.
But in business, you do have to worry about finances. You do have to worry about, keeping your head above water, making sure your kids are okay. So it'd be really interesting. I think we should definitely get some people on here. We should get some mums on here talking about how they balance it. Work-life balance.
There's so many women out there, entrepreneur women, that are working so hard, like you just said, and are super mums and feel guilty, like yourself, because they have to juggle being the best partner, the perfect partner, being a perfect mother, and then obviously having to balance their career and their businesses, because you do need to, especially now with the cost of living, you need to earn. There's so much pressure. Even myself, as a single woman in my late 30s, I've moved out. I don't live with my parents, which was also, breaking one of the norms. She's not married and she's living independently.
Do people still?
I think it's changed so much now, but back then, it was like, if you let her move out, she's never going to get married.
Really?
And a lot of people still think that I haven't got married because my parents have given me so much independence. I'm living on my own. But then you don't have a partner to rely on, to lean on. All that pressure with paying your mortgage or your bills, especially now, mortgage rates and everything going up, is all on you. So if you don't work and you don't sustain a good income on your own, you're not going to be able to pay your bills. So then it's like, everyone always questions me, how do you even have time to even have a relationship or be open to a relationship because you see the hectic,
crazy
life.
I don't know anyone that works as hard as Anisha, honestly. I think even Saturday, Sunday you're working. I was like, I literally asked you, like, when was the last time you had an Anisha day?
She literally asked me this
today. Like, when was the last time you just breathed? Like full deep breaths.
And everyone sees that you're always going from one thing, one project to another. And I've always been, one of the great, I think, talent, shall I say, or skills that I've been so grateful for, that I've always been able to multitask. Multitask really, really well. And once you've been conditioned that way, it makes it easier. But you do burn yourself out.
You do.
Like on Friday, I was judging a pageant. On Saturday, I was literally planning a 40th birthday party. On Sunday, we were doing preparation for a celebrity wedding on Monday. And in the midst of all that, we were doing all our planning for the podcast. And it's like, how do you literally balance everything, and do you switch off? And I do. And this is when I take a vacation and I go on multiple holidays or spa breaks just to have my me time, because you crash, and I have crashed a few times, and I'm guilty of that. And I've burnt myself out because I've taken on too much. And probably more than I could probably handle. And, you're literally trying to just, as you said, just trying to find that 5 minutes to breathe for yourself.
How do you, because I think with you, Anisha, you are like, you are a superwoman and you do so much. Do you give yourself a almost criteria as to when you're going to say no to things? Because you do everything. Like, do you ever go, do you know what, I just don't have time for that, or I just don't have time for that? Or do you always try and push yourself to make that thing happen?
Now I have started to say no.
Okay.
Because I've had to learn that you're not going to be able to do everything, and you're not going to be able to please everyone. Because when you say yes to everything and you can't give it your 100%, you then are letting that person down and you're letting yourself down. And you know what a perfectionist I am when it comes to my work. If I'm not in the right zone, it doesn't allow me to be creative. And creatives need to be in their own little world, literally, like, being inspired, motivating yourself. Because when you work for yourself, you don't have a team. And when I was in the magazine world, I used to work with a team. So one of the biggest things was a challenge for me was going from working with a team, relying on people, delegating out. Now you're literally playing all those roles yourself.
Wow.
You're managing your finances, you're planning the events, you're actually managing social media, you're creating, you're talking to the clients, you're doing the consultations. So now I've learned to be very selective, and for me, positive energy and peace of mind is everything. If I don't enjoy working with those clients in particularly, or I feel it's invading my mental space or my mental health, I just say no now. And if I feel that this job is not going to work for me, it's not aligned for me, I'm not feeling excited by it, then it's time to just say no. And just pass it, like literally just say, I happily decline, but I'm not going to be able to deliver this for you. And I'm not going to do it justice for you the way I would want to do it justice. So I'm very selective now on what I do. But what I love about being a creative consultant is that it gives me lots of variety and diversity in my work. So I can do the launches, I can do the weddings, I can do the events, but I'm very selective in how many weddings I do in a year. I'll only do about a handful to 10 weddings in a year.
So when it comes to burnout, what are your symptoms? Like, do you have a set of symptoms that happen in the run up to the burnout and then the burnout happens? Or is it very slowly creeps upon you, and before you know it, you're in trouble? Like, for me, I know of a very specific set of symptoms that my husband will call out before I've burnt out. So it really helps having him in tune. And for me, I just stop enjoying the things that I would normally enjoy. I would just have no energy to get out of bed. I just wouldn't have the energy to have a conversation. And he'd say, you have done too. He'd take my mobile phone and he would start deleting all the events in my diary for the next week. He would make me rest for a full week. And then I'd have to almost earn back his trust again. And he'd have to say, right now, you're only doing 2 things this week. You can't do 7 things in a week. You have other responsibilities, like 2 things in a week. Pace it out. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I'm like sprinting away. So what's your symptoms that you just think, you know what? Okay, I need to cut.
So you feel it along the way. Because one, I don't know if you've ever, been through this experience. You're so exhausted, like over exhaustion, that you are so tired, but you can't sleep. That's when I know that my body is crying out and that I can't sleep because I'm stressing in my sleep now.
Oh my goodness.
So when I go through that mode and I can't sleep at night, when I'm tired, I know my body is burnt out. I start to get ill. I can't do my workouts. My personal trainer is a great one to identify straight away. You're not performing like you were performing last week. You've been on too many events, too many late nights, and
so
you
he
need
calls
to take
you
some
out.
time out. And he's great. And
you
he
need
will say,
someone.
You need someone. And my friends.
Yeah.
My friends will be like, right, you've been on the go now for 3-4 days. We're taking your phone away from you.
Yeah.
You are now zoning out from your work. It's going to be switching off with the outside world. No social media, no access to anybody. And you're just going to come and stay with us for a few days.
Okay.
So I will go to either my friend's house or my sister's house and spend time with the kids, or just do things that make me happy. I love going to spas. I love to go and like meditate, go to yoga retreats, meditation retreats. And, I will take that time for Anisha time. Yeah. Because if I don't, I will burn myself out 100%. And then I won't be. And when I get ill, Yeah. My immune system's really strong, but when I'm then ill, I'm ill for like a couple of weeks. Yeah.
This is something we don't talk about actually, is burnout and illness. And so stress reduces your immunity, and you're more susceptible to colds and flus. And then that's an additional trauma on the body. So now you've got chronic stress on the body. That affects everything from skin, hair starts to fall out. And then that leads to even more stress. It's almost like a stress cycle.
Yeah. When I'm stressed, I put on a lot of weight as well.
Yeah,
because I'm not eating
carbs. Oh, you eat
even
carbs?
Today, she was like, "Have you eaten? Have you eaten?"
Yeah.
We've been on the go, but you eat so much carbs to obviously for gain energy, like you're saying. But sometimes I don't eat at all. I skip meals.
So
I have
then
a banana in the morning. So then when I do eat, my body thinks I've starved it. So then I put on weight.
Yeah.
And like my weight is something that I've probably, again, something I've never talked so openly about, struggled with so much on my journey, because with my lifestyle, sometimes, we don't get a moment to even have a lunch break or sit down and eat. That then when I do eat, you're going out and eating, and then you're having drinks because you're thinking, I'm going to have a glass of wine today, or I'm going to have a cocktail today because I'm going to de-stress.
Yes.
But then you put on all your calories, and then it's literally been on yo-yo diets my whole life. So now, Vanita, as she knows, I make priority for myself. No one is allowed to talk to me from 9 to 11 because that's my time. Yeah. I'm working out with my personal trainer. Yeah. I'm doing my meditation. I'm doing my breathing, exercising, and then now I'm ready for you. Now you can talk to me as much as you want. And I had to implement that. Yeah. My clients found it quite hard that, Anisha's always available. Always. Even in the night, I'll get messages from my clients thinking it's okay to call me, because I've always been so kind of accessible to the ones that I care about so much. But you have to have, and you've got to be strict, as my mentors have told me, that you've got to start earlier, finish earlier, and make that time for yourself in the evenings, because one day I will get married and I will have children, and then I'll have to juggle my personal life. Goodness. To then obviously then accommodate for a partner and children. And everyone's like, how are you going to do this? And that's what I'm going to go to.
Don't ask me. I mean, I'm
going to give me all the advice on how you juggle.
I just told you how I'm epically failing.
But now, you know what I love about you though now? You have highlighted that you didn't get to spend time with your kids. Yeah. And now it's absolutely crucial, especially at the age they're at now, to spend that quality time with them, to be a friend, and to be someone that they can talk to about all the problems that they're going through. And I think that is so important, just to the fact that you want to invite so many experts on here, to highlight all the pressures of social media, about technology, about all the things that so many parents are having to deal with their kids. Even though I've got a goddaughter, she was asked me just even last week, can I go on social media at the age of 10? And because I'm always on social media, and she knows, and she's like, oh my God, Mom, there's a celebrity. That's what she calls me. And I'm like, I'm not a celebrity. Yeah. I find it so ironic. And she's like, well, you're always on your phone and you're always on social media. So why can't I be? Yeah. And I said, because you're too young. And we know how much social media can consume you. And as much as it's got its positives to build brands, it can also have its negatives, whether they've got access to everything. And I know we're going to obviously be talking about this so much more on a separate episode, but
absolutely, I think
I said no.
Absolutely. So Sienna asked me the same thing. She's like, Mummy, I wouldn't have Instagram. And I said, I'll be completely honest. And I was like, when I go on Instagram, I feel really low. I come off of it feeling quite sad, to be honest. I feel like I don't have this perfect life that everyone else seems to have, but no one has a perfect life. It's just fake highlights of somebody else's life, and you think that that's some perfect life. It doesn't exist. And so, but even knowing that, even being a 40-year-old woman this year, knowing that, from the outside, looking like I've, hit the big milestones, I know how hard it is. I know how much I struggle, which means that everyone is struggling, And so I said that to her. I was like, if mummy's feeling low watching it, imagine you who hasn't hit those milestones yet, how you're going to feel.
It's not playing such a vital role model now for them, right? But what I love about you is you make them understand. Yeah. You don't just say no without an explanation.
Absolutely.
You let them talk to you, and we learn from them as well. Yeah. So much about what they're going through.
100%.
And life is evolving so much. Technology is evolving so much. We've got to all keep up with it, even ourselves, right? So, Vanita, there's something I want to ask you that I know that you've been through, and so have I. There's been, obviously, have you ever experienced negative comments online? And how have you dealt with it? Because I know so many people that have been through this and it's really affected them mentally and emotionally. Yeah. How have you overcome this?
I think anyone that's putting themselves out there will have people that are going to say nasty things about you. There is not much you can do about it. All you need to know is that that's perfectly normal, and it's just part and parcel of putting yourself out there. The problem is the way our mind works is that we start panicking about every negative comment, and you can say ignore it, but the way our ancient mind works, that fight or flight hormone goes off, so cortisol levels go up. When there was one period of time where I did have a lot of negative comments, and you physically don't think you're going to be able to breathe. You think you're going to die. Your face is breaking out. You can't sleep. And you think you're under attack because that is what your ancient mind is telling you. But the reality is, if 1,000 people say a nice comment, you're just focusing on that one negative comment. That's all you're going to think about. It's completely disproportionate.
But why do our minds do that? Why do we only focus on that negative comment?
Our ancestors had to do that for us to survive. They had to focus on that one potential roar that was from a lion. They had to be completely alert to a change in their environment that could kill them. So that is why we've evolved over the last 300,000 years to have our amygdala go off at the smallest thing. The problem is that we weren't designed for this era of social media where millions of people know who you are. Your tribes were meant to be much, much smaller than this. So we have not adapted. This has happened in the last 20 years, versus the 300,000 years it's taken for our minds to develop. So now we're in a situation, we've got these ancient brains trying to handle a modern day problem. And all we can do is rationalize to ourselves that fear you're feeling is completely normal, but it's completely unjust. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some space, and forgive yourself for coming down too hard on yourself as well. That's something that we don't do. We ourselves are our worst critics. And that doesn't do us any favors. We have to learn to be more forgiving to ourselves before we can even be better citizens,
Of course.
This is also something I want to talk about on here. But expect negative comments. If you're going to put yourself out there, there are going to be people who are going to say nasty things. It is what it is. Yeah. You can block as much as you want, but ultimately not everyone's going to love you. I think if you just do your best, if you just add as much value as you can to people's lives, if you are net helping people versus anything else, you're going to be okay. That's it. You just need to add value, help as much as you can. And it doesn't even matter what anyone says at that point.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that because I've had trolls, especially in the pandemic, and we would have these lives that I would do with all the celebrities and influencers and professionals at that time that could add value to people, because it was such a kind of unexpected time for all of us, and we didn't know what to expect or how to deal with things. And so many trolls that would come on sometimes and be like, oh, Anisha's just horrible, or she doesn't sometimes when we see her at events she doesn't talk to us. But you're passing a judgment on myself and you don't even know me. If you tried to maybe get to know me, you would understand that I'm not deliberately not saying hello to you. Sometimes you're just so busy in the moment and you're talking to so many people that you're just like, why don't you actually come and get to know me before you actually pass a judgment? And it's hard because you think, how do you deal with sometimes these negative comments? But you're right. You just literally have to take some time out, step away from the situation and just breathe and reset and just think, okay, that's your issue. That's how you're dealing with things. And you have to just accept, like you said, you're not always going to be everyone's favorite person.
I know, it's just easier said than done, isn't it?
It is. We're all guilty about it, but I think you sometimes do have to change your mindset, like you said, and forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Because once you forgive yourself, then you can forgive other people.
Yeah.
Once you love yourself, you can learn to love other people.
We don't talk about that, giving yourself space.
Yeah.
And just being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that. Being your own best friend.
Yeah.
We don't. We are our own worst critic.
Yeah. I've battled that a lot,
Yeah.
Living alone when you like I said, going from a team at work of like 20 people to then living in a busy family household, then going and moving out on your own. And I realized very early on that I could not be alone and sit within my own company.
Okay.
And it took a long time for me to accept that.
Wow.
Because I just was so used to being around people, but going from work to going to networking events or going to events and working on events, that I couldn't sit in my own space and be my own best company. And
now?
It took me so much. Now I love my space.
Okay.
I love my company.
Yeah.
But there was a massive transition where people wouldn't even know that I battled that a lot of having a companion and having friends. I always needed people around me. Yeah. And it's like, why can I not sit in my own company?
We haven't been taught to.
Learn.
Yeah, we have
to
never
love
been
myself,
taught to.
Learn your own company.
Yeah.
When you become the best version of yourself, you will attract the best lifestyle, the best life, and all the amazing people around you. And it was through going through like Art of Living and going on courses. And it's the best gift that my sister could have bought for me at the time. When I did go through the breakup, that she said, you have to learn to love yourself. Because until you don't go through this process and learn to be okay and happy and content in your own skin, you are not going to be able to be the best version of yourself to then attract that right person into your life. And it was hard. It was really like a very deep emotional journey that I had to go onto to sit with myself, to be able to go and actually discover actually a lot about my growth.
Yeah. How long did it take?
I've evolved so much.
I'm sure. How long did it take for you to?
A good
1 year.
1 year on a journey of going to Art of Living, my breathing, exercising, meditating, working out, having my personal time, doing the things that I like doing, hobbies, and literally like going swimming and doing my own workouts and meditating.
Do you have like a happiness list as well, like things that make you happy, and then prioritize those? Yeah. So,
and as they say, as you go older, I've had like so many friends growing up from different circles, from school to college to university, to then having, friends from your workspace to colleagues and associates. And I think all my colleagues and all my clients are my friends, but there's a huge difference. Because, really they're just your associates, amazing associates. But now I can like count my friends on one hand and know how they inspire me. And I know what's my happy place and who makes me happy. And I will go to those people that will give me the comfort, the right advice, and positive energy. You want positive energy. Absolutely. And you want to be surrounded with people. They're going to help you evolve. They're going to help you grow. And they're going to help you to be positive all the time. Those are the people that I will literally hang around with for when I want my me time, when it's just my Anisha time, when I can just be Anisha.
They actually say, you come across so fake. I couldn't even imagine. Can you even imagine saying those words to someone? Who even speaks like that?
This is exactly the things I've never discussed. And all the things that you go through in your career and on your journey, and the assumptions and the perceptions people have on you. And Vanita, I really used to care about what people used to think about me. It really, really used to affect me mentally and emotionally. That I used to think too much, and that's where you go wrong. When you care too much about what other people think, it is your weakness. Because you, obviously, like you said, you're conditioned that way. You don't want to be a people pleaser your whole life, but you want to make everyone happy, but it's at the cost of your own happiness. So you have to find the balance to just be as genuine as you can. And I think now a lot of people have got the opportunity to be genuine and show their personal life and what they are like in their personal life as well as in their professional life. And sometimes you just have to accept that you've got to play a professional role and a personal role. There's obviously different ways, right, that you conduct yourself in a professional environment from a personal environment. But it's like, you just got to find that balance. And for those that are, lucky enough to get to know you on a personal level, then I think they change and think, oh my God, actually, I'm so wrong about you.
How do people come to you and, you care about what people think about you? I don't know actually what people think about me. How
do you care what people think about you?
I don't even know. I have no idea what people think about me. Do you want to write in the comment section?
What do you think?
Like, do people come and go, these are my impression, this is my impression of you? Like, who? I
don't think a lot of people are confident enough to tell you directly.
Other than the aunties, other than I'd say the next generation above, they're very confident. They will come and tell you all the things wrong with you. They're a whole different cohort, and I'm very strict actually. So I give feedback to those aunties who think it's okay to pass judgment on what you're doing, or and I will give feedback and say, listen, this is why I'm doing it, but also, I don't appreciate X, Y, and Z comments. This is how it makes me feel, and it doesn't really help. And I know that might have been okay 20 years ago, but in this generation, I feel like we have a close enough relationship that I can tell you that just hurts my feelings and it doesn't help me.
Communicate.
Yeah, just communicate it. I think now I can, do it after I turn 30. I think then I felt a bit more comfortable saying it to my elders. But I hope my kids will come to me sooner and say, actually, mummy, that hurt my feelings. Don't speak to me like that, or don't do that. That is the conversation that I want to have. I don't want to have, I don't want to say just because you're older, you automatically have carte blanche and you can say what you want to someone younger than you, and you automatically have respect because you're older. I think that is very wrong, and I think respect and love you should be given to children and onwards, so that they know they can talk back and say, actually, you made a mistake. Actually, is there something, would you like to apologize?
Absolutely.
Which they have said to me.
There you go. See, you're being an amazing parent and educating them and teaching them that you should express your feelings and talk about your feelings and your emotions. A lot of kids, as we know, are honed in from a young age to not express themselves or think it's okay not for them to cry, like especially boys. Boys don't cry, boys don't talk about their feelings. And then suddenly you're dating a guy that's really scarred from his childhood, who then can't express his emotions and feelings and can't be affectionate with you. And it's coming from a deep-rooted problem because he's been through this in his childhood. And the more and more people now that I'm meeting on dating, or on dates, should I say, and I've got many dating disasters, which we will do.
We will talk about.
Separately, and the kind of men that you do meet and women that you meet out there, and so many experiences that all my single friends have honestly shared, and that's just going to be an episode on its own. You realize that a lot of people, the later that you meet someone or the older you are, you've been through so many more life experiences. So you meet so many people that are blessed, like scarred or damaged or gone through, so many different issues that you almost sometimes feel so sad, but you just have to accept that the older you get and the later you go on in your life, that you're always going to come and meet people that have gone through so many things. But it's about trying to make that difference in childhood and how you educate them with purpose. To don't just tell them they can't do something, explain to them why they can't do something. And
so do you think boys are still in this day and age being told by their mothers don't cry? I can't even imagine
I don't think anymore.
Not anymore, right?
No.
Like I
hope not.
Honestly, to Josh and Sienna, both of them, every day we have the standard conversation. Tell me 2 good things, 1 bad thing that happened, and how did you feel about it? How you feel about it is really important. And I make sure also my husband gets involved in the conversation, so my son can see that my husband is feeling X, Y, Z way. And the other thing that, me and my husband both talk about with our kids is failures that we've had in our business or in our jobs, or even that day. So for example, say we've run out of a product and, we've been waiting for it for a few weeks and suddenly it's come, but it's now double the size. So we do double, increase based on what people want. So say they want a product double the size, but we forgot to increase the price and we've sold 1,000 units of something at the old price and have lost a lot of money. That's not something we'd keep quiet with the children. So Sandeep would come and say, I feel terrible. This is a mistake that I've made, and it's impacted us this way. And then the kids will come around and want to look after him, be like, don't worry, everyone makes mistakes, and just normalizes that if we're making mistakes, you're going to make mistakes. And that is absolutely normal.
It's key.
And we are all learning. They don't throw it back in your face. I think there's this odd misconception that parents think that children are going to throw things back in their face. But it just doesn't happen, because if you're compassionate with them, they will never abuse it.
Absolutely.
Your children will never abuse it.
You're being honest.
But like a parent might use something that a child said against them, a child is not going to do that to the parent, because all the child wants is for their mum and dad to give them full attention and love. That's it.
That's all they want.
So it actually puts us in quite an easy situation from a parent's perspective to be that open with the kid.
Yeah, and I just think anytime that I'm down as well and I'm around my godchildren, I feel they so uplift me so much, right? You learn so much from them and their perspective. They make you laugh, and you're just being able to share, like you said, your values and your lessons, and you're just basically trying to educate them on how to learn from it and be the best version that they can, and not put so much pressure on themselves.
Absolutely.
I think there's just so much pressure everywhere at the moment. Even young kids, like you say, they feel like other friends have got, like, you know, access to social media, or they've got their phones, or they've got these new toys, or they've got access to this. And it's like now more than ever, we need to educate our children and the younger generation of how not to do things the wrong way as much as we can. We can only just play the best role models, right, to our younger generation. And just be the best lead models and role models that we can.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I cannot wait to hear what you guys think of this podcast and the guests that you want to have, the topics you want us to talk about, and things that maybe you're struggling with, but maybe aren't able to talk to other people about, but you'd like to know what we have to say, and also what the guests and experts have to say as well. So in the comment section, make sure that you write down everything below, and we will be in the comment section as well. So for the first hour of every YouTube video that we release, we're going to be in the comment section so that you can ask us live, but also it creates a conversation in the comment section. So generally what you find is we create a wonderful community where everyone can bounce ideas off of each other, and you realize you're not alone. And I think that's the key here, is whatever you're going through, I promise you millions of other people are going through the exact same thing, whatever it is. And once you connect, you just realize that you can handle it. Whatever it is, it's going to be okay. And there tends to be a way through something, or a way to accept something. So that's, I think, for us, our greater purpose here, isn't it?
For sure.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you, like Vanita said. So also, like, you know, direct message us on Instagram, leave your comments. If there's anything that you're going through, any issues or, you know, controversial issues that you feel that you can't talk about, and we can help you in any way to, like you said, bring on an expert or bring on somebody that will be able to relate to whatever it is, however small or large it is, a problem, please do share that with us. Because like we said, we want to be able to make a change these conversations, and be able to bring you substance and things that will really, really hopefully implement and help your lives. So please do get in touch with us. We want to hear from you. We want to change conversations.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
So make sure you like, follow, and subscribe, and share this amazing podcast with all of your friends and family in your WhatsApp groups.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.